I know. To know. Empress Zinga.
Yes.
You're going to be speaking to someone who has influenced our lives, have influenced the lives of many creatives on the outside, whether you are strictly in theater, or you are accustomed being on a stage, or you've done something in voice, or you've done something in public speaking, or you've done something in movement. This is a lady who has really had an inspiration on many, many forms of art in Barbados and the region. Her name is known among hallowed ground to many, many out there. And I know this is going to mean a lot to you.
She like rolling, she's like hallowed ground.
I love it. I love the poetry of it.
Ladies and gentlemen on the outside, if you're listening locked on, you're about to listen to the voice of Miss Sonia Williams. Sonia, tell Barbados, good morning.
Good morning, Carol. Oh, it's so wonderful to be here.
Sweet.
Yes.
Say no more time. Don't you want Empress Singer? Let me talk to Sonia.
I feel like, as DJ was saying earlier, we already had half the interview ready, coming down the road in the vehicle. But big up William out there if you're listening.
Yes, William, thank you.
Okay, so first up, who is Sonia Williams? For those people who do not know who Sonia is, how do you identify Sonia Williams?
Oh boy, I mean, that's a real hard question.
Good.
You should have looked at the questions. Yeah, you know, the first time I met DJ person to person was through his poetry, you know? And I think that, you know, even now as he speaks of me, I can hear the poet in him. And the poet informs all of his life. I'm a creative, and my creative processes have informed who I am as a person. You know, I'm kind of like an Anansi in the female version. Big up to all the men. International Men's Day. Enough respect to all the men. Yeah. So in the sense that I have creative processes and I apply them to many different areas of the arts. Yeah. And so I'm an Anansi. And in my life as well, I will things into being. I have created my own homemade life. I've not just fallen into existing jobs and stuff like that. So in that sense, I am a magician. I am a maker of, you know, whether it is coming up with an idea, writing a script and putting it onto a stage, or coming up with an idea and working with bodies and creating, or you know, so yeah. And I'm like a tree that shelters, because I mentor a lot of artists and a lot of people in education in different areas of life. I facilitate a process that allows them to become confident and to really search their impulses, like what is it they really need to do, and I facilitate a journey of possible processes that could help you to get there, you know, and the confidence to go and search and believe that you're in yourself, you know, whether your art, you know, is you know, what are your standards for your art? How do you see your art? How do you see yourself? And to incorporate into your world, you know. So that's why I'm mother, you know, grandmother now, and somebody's daughter, and you know, Pan-African, having lived many places, and always finding myself there.
So people don't even understand how much work I don't think you have done. Like, even coming in here this morning, we didn't even realize that you had taught Mikey Mercer in a performance workshop with other Calypsonians and stuff like that, for them to understand, you know, the space, the story they're telling, that go and complements the music that they are producing. And from being an actress, director, author, coach, mentorship, like there are probably many students you have taught, like myself, who's just called in the middle of a project and be like, Sonia, how do I do here? I used to be like, all right, just take your time, breathe, what's the research about, you know, and you really try to get us to be calm, you know, where the messages will come through, etc. But, you know, one of your accomplishments, your accolades, what is the one thing you're most proud of your work?
My goodness, like, I don't do that. I don't bring down things to one thing and black and white, because where there's opposition, there are many possibilities. For example, sometimes some of my darkest moments in my work, my moment, which are a lot, right? Like a moment where something just falls through, program doesn't open on time. It's where I learn my biggest lessons. So I'm proud of, in a way, the way that I engage in the world. I think that's the biggest thing. I engage in my projects. You know, oh God, what is the proudest thing? And you know, the thing about it is that influences are ongoing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I see something a student has done and I feel so full of like love and tears, you know. But the proudest thing in my work is that ability to transfer from one kind of art to another.
Yeah.
And because it has meant my survival in this ecosystem that we live in as an artist. So for example, during COVID, I was doing development editing for people in Sabah, in London, you know, Barbadians as well. So I was so that I'm able to slip and flow between the cracks and find new spaces to present my work. I once did work with 90 caddies at Sandy Lane. So I did theater for professional development.
Yes.
You know, and these caddies still see me today and say, remember that class that, you know, gave me a sense of myself as a young black man working with people who are different, with a lot of money. We have this history of enslaved people, and how do we hold up our head? How do we not fight each other and bring each other down when we're working in this system, and even within the system where a caddy is a different space than somebody who's the uniform or running the show. You know, so how do we deal with disparities? And then working with churches, like I'll never feel how I'm so proud of my relationship to Mount Pisgah's church, and working with the children and the women and the men, and going back and being received, you know, lessons from the church, you know, and seeing these young people growing up. One of them is at UE, you know, and stuff like that. So there's so many places I've intervened. I'm proud of my work in England, you know, going down there and working under very tight schedules, 9 to 5, and in 9 days you have a 1 hour up. You know what I mean?
9 days.
In 9 days, and people are saying this is wonderful. You know, they want, you know, the mayor of the town, the people who were there, the person at UIA invited me then to present to their PhD students and their lecturers and about my work, and so there's so many things I'm proud of.
So when you talk a lot about Pan-Africanism and being a Pan-Africanist, and you have a lot of African identity in your work, and why is that so important for you to put that within your work? Because it could be, we talk about Africanism today, but tomorrow we might try to strip it away.
Yeah, it's in all elements of my work, from my research and writing and teaching to my pieces that I create, to my writing, because it's part of our root. History, people think that history is gone, like it happened yesterday. You know what I mean? Or thousands of years ago. But when you were born into this world, they didn't create a new world for you, you know? They have a world here existing that has all these streets from history, all of the ideas from history. So history is with us today. So it's very important for us as Caribbean people, as Barbadian people, to not only look to England and look to the European and American traces in our lives, but to be able to look at the Amerindian presence in our ecosystem, as well, and the energy of our space, as well as the African presence, particularly in Barbados, where we have African and British, Scottish, you know, presence more so than in Trinidad, where you would have Indio. And then the recent presence of the Chinese and the Indian, as small as they are, is important. So it's important that we look at our roots. Why do we say the things we say? How has Africa influenced English? Because the English we speak here is not the English in England, and it's a long time they realize that. So, you know, there's so much of us that is of Africa. Africa offers solutions. I'm not saying that we're supposed to pick up what is African and just do it, because Africa is a continent with people. And there are two things I want to say quickly, which is one, bloodline, is that we have inherited in our DNA ancestral. Our mother, our great-grandmother on our father's side, on our mother's side, has passed on in our DNA patterns for our living and our way of being. So you can get some of these old pictures and see yourself in the old pictures. So that there are fragments of Africa is in us. We don't have to look for it. But then to know history and to know its manifestations, its culture, its way of thinking, can feed us things that have been repressed in our history. And maybe some of those ideas can help us to battle what we have been given that is repressive.
What were some of the challenges putting on theater pieces here in Barbados with that ideology, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I
know it's a big question.
Yeah. There were the first thing that came to mind obviously is my immediate experience, which is the idea that some people say, wait, Sonia doing that foolishness up there again, the drumming and the dancing, because African theater, to have an African sensibility and is to really tap into what is around us in nature, disrespect for nature, disrespect for the idea that time is not linear, and so there is the presence of other entities in our space, and we accept it in other religious spaces. We accept other entities like the saints and the apostles and all those who have taught us. So in a way, to go to Africa then is to go to all that has been taught to us that we don't know. So there need to be an influx of new information to add to what's inside of us in order to interpret. And I always say you asked about the challenges, but I always say to people that, our grandmothers, my grandmother said, take your hand off your head, your mother ain't dead. I was in Nigeria in Bendel State, and it's red earth and dust, and it was Harmattan time, the dust that comes over here. And something had happened. I came outside and I squatted to the ground. I put my hand on my head, and a woman came and said, now, what's happening? And she started to tell me, well, look, is it sorrow? Who has died? You know what I mean? And so it made me realize that it is around. But that thing of I really don't look at who opposing me, Keisha. I mean, I don't look at who opposing me. I look to see, I have this kind of thing, like, as long as it's for the good of all, I'm pushing through. Because all things will come together for good. And I think that very attitude is that sense of having a sense of power. And that is, for me, part of being an African woman, being an African Caribbean woman, African Barbadian woman, is knowing that no matter what they give you, you can make cuckoo out of it. You can make saltfish, fish cakes out of it. You can find a way to create what is your own and to comfort in it, and change your space.
A beautiful conversation. It is now 28 minutes before the hour of 12 o'clock. You're listening to 94.7 of DJ Simmons, Empress Singer, and Sonia Williams.
I guess by extension, this would be like a part 2 to that question. What would you like those who may, misinterpret African theater? What is it that you would like them to understand?
Well, there's two things, because when people see my theater and say it's African theater, I was trained in New York. I went to high school in New York. I went to college in New York and studied theater, and I studied European concepts of theater, practiced them, and then I got a Watson Fellowship to go to Nigeria to look at really Nigerian culture and life. And so when you see my theater, you're not just seeing African theater, you're seeing world theater. And I have the sense that even yesterday I was looking at a documentary that by accident, and it was talking about Kilimanjaro and Ethiopia and that whole eastern kind of African space, and it was saying, well, this is believed to be the oldest land in the world, the oldest mountains, whatever, in the world, and this is where the British anthropologists found the oldest bones that they at the time called Lucy. They have since changed the name. And that we are all African. There's a sense for me that Africa populated the world, and over time history has changed the way that we treat each other. And so I kind of hold on to that. And so now as a mature woman, I realize that anything that I want to attach myself to and work with, if I want to do an opera, I can. One time I used to think opera, that's a European thing. If I want to do an opera, I can, because the world is ours. And that's what I want people to know. The world is ours. And we can trust our instincts. I mean, the inner instincts. After we strip away the layers of it will never change. It would always be like this. You know, you have no right to. We can strip away all of that and claim our authentic self and create and change the world with our creations.
Yes, I love that answer. Global theater, I like that. So we both have a love, a special memory of, and I guess a level of grief for the late great Kamau Brathwaite.
Yes, please.
And having him in our lives speaking to us about many different things, from Africanism to jazz to Bajan cadence to just being a spirit, you know, and him transitioning. How was your relationship with Kamau Brathwaite?
He was like a father of art to me. And, you know, I is a hard-edged child in the sense that, you know, because of separation, diaspora, you know, I've always had to pick up and move from place to place. So I claim you, but it don't always go back and feed you always. And he would always send me these letters like, what are you doing? You haven't spoken to me. Far more poetic than I'm saying it right now. I mean, I hear you. What you're doing, you know what I mean? Tell me what's going on. So he was like a father to me, because when I did, I think, one of the earliest pieces that made people see the epic nature of my work. And you talked earlier about having support or not having support. Is David Commission. And I think Barbados was one of the only countries that had the Commission for Pan-African Affairs.
Okay.
At that time in this region. I had such an office that a government had created. And he asked me to do, over time, I think 2 different pieces, or 3. And one of them was Return to the Source, and one of them was based on Negus. It was Negus, which I did in Frank Collymore Hall for Emancipation Day, and I did in the museum garden for another Emancipation Day. And at that time, Kamau, they had sent my name to Kamau. He didn't know who I was for the first one, Negus. For the second one, make it quickly, I had sent him a letter with my ideas. And he said, Sonia, you know what you're doing. You know ritual. I love this interpretation, you know. And he said, I'm coming to see you, because the first time he didn't get to see my work. And he took a plane and came to see us in our work. And he sat with the students. He is so humble. He taught me humility. He taught me, he was so gentle, you know.
He was a very quiet but very powerful person
in the. So he's very influential for me. He's who told me that I need to grow trees for shelter in this space, because he loved the way that I directed and participated. You know, he loved how and he was so inspirational. He's one of those people that taught me my worth, that validated me. We just need validation. Who do we get it from? You know, and Kamau validated my work and validated my students and became a source for them. Any one of them could have connected to him. I miss him dearly. I miss him the way I also miss Earl Warner. You know, and I mean, I feel it. I feel it in my body. These great ones that have left, that have spoken to me, that has given me time.
Professor Lamin.
Yeah, Professor Lamin. We need to give each other time. You know, we need to give each other time.
So, in terms of best memories now, pivoting a little bit as we tear up, talking about, best memories of teaching. I have a few from our class. Janelle, if you are listening, I can hear Janelle laughing real bad, and Carol, Kim as well. We have had some amazing moments from different types of teachers, Sonia being there and all the rest. But what are your favorite moments from teaching? Because you called Janelle the name, right? I can use it to that moment. I remember I teach actors, and actors have the idea in Barbados, used to have the idea that you gotta wait till the show to really put on the performance. Or at least somewhere down the line, the nights of technical, you put, but all the time you're not really supposed to give your all. And I always tell people, every time you rehearse, it's a performance. Give your all. How else does your all grow? So I remember Janelle studying for Odale's Choice, the character of it is Odale and Lichio, and Lichio has to cry. Oh, I remember this good. To cry. And I said, okay, you know. Stoneface Janelle, boy. Cry. And Janelle says, no, ma'am. And I said, no, do it now. Sorry to screech into your mic. And she was like, and her face would be
what I mean?
No.
The idea of having to do everything now, so that was a teaching moment. But my proudest moment with actors, oh God, there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
And in teaching, my proudest moment in teaching, I have some even now, because I have a class right now. I don't know if you're out there, Catherine Wilkins and all you people. I have a class right now with a group of intro students who are doing most of my education. I have 2 musicians, a dancer, etc. It's kind of elective class. And I remember the beginning of the class, they're coming into class like kind of holding on to their own bodies and going, well, we don't really like to talk, and we don't, and we kind of shy, and we feel uncomfortable in crowds and stuff like that. And this week I saw them put on an incredible scene where I walk in the room, they were doing something from Moon, and there was like Moon is set in a yard, and there was like cloth, like a line with them hanging clothes and everything. And at the end yesterday, I asked them to tell me what they learned from acting. And I mean, there were tears in the room. Children, they were crying at the fact that they had bonded and the love and respect they had felt in the class. And this is something I feel good about as a teacher, that my students in my classroom just feel loved, respected, encouraged, disciplined in the sense of self-discipline, and me critically speaking truth to them, saying this is what this is really about, and this is what you need to think about. And they were able to connect the class to their lives and to use the lesson from the class in their lives. And this is one of the most important things for me as a teacher, is that when students can apply what they're learning to their class in life and develop themselves, this is, and I get it year after year. I get some of the most hard-earned students that didn't show up for all the rehearsals but have to perform, and they come into class, oh God, they're gonna fail me, mom. And I sit down and say to them, you know what, get up and do the work. Go and talk to the teachers and commit to doing the work and do the work. You will fail yourself. And these students write me letters years ago and say, one from St. Lucia, whose name I won't call, who I'm very, very proud of, who sings and now writing books and things. And she said, Mom, thank you for that. I learned so much from you. That day you was hard on me and sent me out to the class. I learned so much from you. When I come back to you, we had that conversation. You did not let me go. You did not let me fall through the cracks. And I'm happy when I can be there for students, because students are people, and they have lives. Some are mothers, family members ill, all kind of things happening, and they need the encouragement and the support and the critical truth, not to destroy them. Don't put them down, don't call them names, don't put them in that list of people who, but deal with them as individuals.
With empathy.
Now
in your bio, when I wrote it up, I just kept typing, she do this and she do that. I said, this one is doing enough things here. And then I said I had to put down multi-award winning. I didn't know what to put after that, because it was like, but she win everything from everything else. But you have a play, or you have a performance rather, coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
And you won the Governor General's Award for NIFCA. You were telling me about this even when we were at school, and you were explaining about this play, this piece that you did, and now you get to perform it again tomorrow. How you feel about performing this here now tomorrow? 22
years later. No, it was wonderful because NCF has finally created a professional section, and I mean recently I have been the national coach, coaching everybody, and I was also a judge years ago, so I never felt that I should enter the competition. And then they had this professional section. I just come back from Jamaica, and I did this piece, Marie Ange, a French woman, a Haitian woman, about migration and separation and love, and so I'm very happy to perform tomorrow. I'm very happy to perform it and re-enter it 22 years later with the knowledge that I've gained over that time, to see how it has deepened, because the character sat with me all those years. I could always find her and say a few lines from her. I would break into, I'd be teaching class and I'd break into a character, to give an example, and Marie Ange was one of them. So it's wonderful to bring that message from her tomorrow, and to keep Haiti in our mind. Haiti is so important to us, and to see the similarities between us and Haiti. Because we always separate her from us. We don't see the similarities.
And in terms of your prac, getting ready for stage and so on. Theater has, as we were saying earlier, we feel like we're in a crisis because we haven't been on the stage. Like, there've been little many things bit by bit, but a full, even a 1-act play, 3-act, 2-act, but even a 1-act play, we have not had something like that in a long time. What do you think we need to start reigniting theater again? Not only just here in Barbados, because I know it's not just our challenge, it's a universal challenge.
Okay, at first I want to say, we had New Wave doing Rabbit Hole, which was a kind of international thing, and theater had found its way into a video, and then you realize, okay, well, this is really film. You know what I mean? There's a whole set of questions. But I also want to say one more thing. I want to shout out Angela Workman, Joy, who's doing my costume, Peter Lewis, who's going to be gathering all my furniture and bringing it in, Akasha Williams-Bailey, who's my SM, and Russell Watson for coming in and looking at it. And I just want to say that because this performance tomorrow, I'm solo on the stage, but I have a whole team behind me. Without that team, I couldn't be there tomorrow. So first I want to say that. So now I want to go to the question about just remind me.
Theater.
Getting going again is hard. I mean, we have literally become heavy bottomed, is that okay to say that word? And kind of lazy, you know, because theater is doing. And if you've been sitting in rooms for the last 2 years and not doing, your body will be lazy and it will be heavy. And it also psychologically, you know, you've been thinking. I mean, some of you have been writing, I've been writing, we've been thinking. I had a year of training and then I stopped. You know, in that COVID, I used to get up and go swim, and then I stopped. You know, but so the whole thing is to activate ourselves again, and I think the artists need to connect to the impulses. You know, I offered a few workshops recently as well with Janelle's company. Say the
Theater Convos.
Theater Convos, thank you. And getting old. And
Sonia. Okay, here she is. Sonia.
And people came out. I mean, people came out who had been thinking about theater but had not done it. A beautiful teacher. I mean, he came out. He was wonderful. But so I'm saying that we're not only going to get those people that have been sitting down going, but there's some new people who's kind of shifted over COVID, who are saying, like, I'm ready to try things I didn't try before.
Experiment.
And so we need to create experimental spaces. And I think that COVID is, you know, if I had my way, and I think Minister of Culture is coming, but if I had my way, I would, you see, we have a lot of buildings that are empty in our communities, a lot of community centers where nothing is happening, and somebody holds the key. And what really needs to be happening is that I would call on all of the artists that have been training at university and BCC to go and do something in their community. I look at a man that got a little shop up the road, and I look under it and said, poetry reading. You know what I mean? Once in West Terrace, I thought about poetry reading, and I said to him, you know, things are going on this side of the hill. I think we really need to take it in our own hands and realize that theater is not just the thing that happens in the building. You know,
it's life.
And there are all kinds of work you produce, you know, on a Sunday evening in our community, because people are not going out as much, but they're gonna soon start. And what you want to do is to have something happening in the corner, on your church, in your community center,
tarpaulins,
outside the house on a tent. You know, bringing some people and drum. I think that we need to start just having communal things happening. You know, I think this new republic is calling for us to take control of our lives. We cannot wait for the government.
We have to be independent of ourselves.
We have to be independent of ourselves. And you know, this is something I used to go to different communities and do different things, but I know it is be hard because at some point you want to create something and everything just costs some kind of money to do things. And as a producer, my challenge is that I think so big. So I think so big, right? I have scripts, right? So then I don't have the money for it, and sometimes it stops me. And then somebody offers me a little work, and I go and do it. And Camo warn me about that. This is tell me, look, you need to grow your own trees for shelter. Right now you got shrubs all over the place. You got some here by enough respect to my supporters. NCF, you've done a lot of work for them. You've community development, you've done work for them. Pan-African, you've done Prime Minister's office, you've done work for them. But all of them is shrubs because they're not picking up the plays and doing them again.
They need to be remoted.
And so it's up to me to grow the trees and create that. And everybody, all my people, some people are already doing it on some level. You know, Matthew was doing it, but we need to think community. For the community Cambridge now, I since. So, you know what I mean? Or for the big show. Yeah.
Reminding people once again where they can come and see this performance by you tomorrow, Sonia.
Yeah, so Daphne Joseph Hackett Theatre in Queen's Park at 7 p.m.
Nice.
$20 for adults, $10 for children. And big up Renee Taylor, the theatre arts officer, who has been so wonderful in keeping me organized and collecting my set drawing and you know, just communicating to me what was gonna happen.
All right, my last question though, because I can't laugh out this one. What is it you want to be remembered for, or what is it you want to leave behind? Listen, I cannot be your student and not ask hard questions. So all these saying and take and saying, do your research internally.
What do I want to be remembered for, and what?
Or what is it you want to leave behind?
Because the first thing I can remember is my laughter. Like, it's cackle out, right? And
bad.
Yeah, man. And like, it's be a real, sometimes it's push boundaries, like in the classroom and stuff. And my students just be cracking up. Yesterday I went into class and I started class with a Jamaican song. Skanking sweet.
Yeah.
Everybody dance, and we all got up and danced because it's end of term.
Yeah.
And we're stressed. And so I love the unpredictable kind of way in which I interact with the world and drop pearls of wisdom. I want to be remembered for that. My books, my plays. I want my children to be part of my legacy. I want them to grow independent and strong and do wonderful things in the world, you know. But definitely I have more, and I pray for the life to finish. I'm writing a book now. I'm doing research on community college and programs in Barbados because I want to have an impact on education, you know, and what should be in these programs and what have been in these programs and what these programs has affected, what they have brought into being and how that is affecting our world and how we need to think about what history is doing to us. Because if we stick in that room, in that building with that AC that's so expensive, we will not survive as artists. We need to get out of it. And so that whole European thing, I don't want to dash it way. I want to see the way in which it links with us and what can be used of it and what we don't want. We can't choose.
Nice.
You know? So I'm writing a book on that right now.
Nice.
This has been an inspiring conversation. I know some of you on the outside feel like I could get this and do for you, even if it ain't got nothing to do with art per se. You just feel like if you could actually move to make that possibility happen for you today. It was great hearing your wisdom on the microphone, Sonia. It was great just sitting back and letting you speak and letting your knowledge flow. That has been incredible. You will continue to be an inspiration for all of us watching you work, going through your hills and valleys, your ebbs and your flows, and you're working. And we gotta make sure that we make sure people that like Sonia Williams get the flowers while they're here.
I like the flowers though. You gotta tend the ground before you get your flowers. So your flowers.
Or fruit. I like that fruit.
If there was someone that was listening that would like to know how they could possibly link up with you for some mentorship or something,
vocal coaching, performance coaching,
how
acting.
can they connect with you? How can they contact you?
I just want to tell the young man from Roland Edwards that I can call him when I get home. It was just a busy morning. So people, you can I can just give you my number, 248-6660. Right, you can WhatsApp me on that number. Also, Sonia Suzette Williams.com is my website. And and I teach at the University of West Indies, Cave Hill. And so you can always try to connect to me there in the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts.
Sweetness. I really enjoyed our conversation, Sonia. Like, this is only like scratching the surface of who you are and what you have done and what you have yet planned to do.
Yes.
It has been an honor being your student and mentee for all of these years. I have learned so much about not just acting, but people and having empathy for the story of a person. I think applying that to hard conversations has helped a lot, and maturing conversations, because you remember that it's not the words that are coming to you, it's the person, and they come with so much. And sometimes people come at you because they care. So you take notice of that, and I have to thank you for that, and also reminding me to push a lot harder, might be small, but believing in myself that I can get things done with very, very little. because as long as you know you can get things done, more will come.
Yes, I just want to say, if I can, I'm just so proud of you too, you know, and the work you're doing. I think GineOn is an institution, you know, and not any bad word, not in any bad word way, right? But I've watched you both grow over time with your writing, with your work, and I am just so proud. It's incredible what you're doing. It's incredible what so many of you are doing out there already. I know you are incredible. Know that you're making, and people don't like this, but we're making magic every day. You're doing things that is miracles, and you're making miracles with what you're doing, and just keep stepping up. Just keep stepping.
Thank you,
know?
so much, Sonia. Your driver was just on the line. He was loving what was happening and saying that the show should be 3 hours and not 2. But we thank you so much. Did here inside the studio.